ISIS wants to kill American Christians in the United States, and they even have a kill list with the names, specific names of Christians who they want to be killed in the United States. There is even an entire church group that is included in the list. I'm not making this up. There's a church in the United States, and the entire membership, all the members in the church, their names are on an ISIS kill list, and ISIS wants them dead. So now they're targeting American Christians specifically. And according to a report that just came out today, it says as many as 15,000 Americans are on various kill lists that the Islamic State, ISIS, terrorist organization has put out, with many of them not knowing that they have been marked for death. Writing for Charisma News, author Michael Snyder says some of those who are in the kill list have been notified by the FBI. However, many have not received FBI notification and are unaware that they have been marked for death. Since the lists are not publicly available, Americans would not know whether their names are on the kill lists. Circa News was able to obtain samples of the kill lists and found out that of the 24 people marked for death whom they contacted in Texas, 22 of them did not know they were on such a list. Snyder says last week he was contacted by someone who told him that the FBI had informed him that he and his wife were on the ISIS kill lists. Even more alarming was their discovery that other members of the couple's church, including their pastor, are also on kill lists. Where did ISIS get those names? Snyder says the terrorist group apparently got the names from church directories posted on the internet, and so now an entire church has ended up on the ISIS kill list. So there you go. They're specifically targeting Christians in the United States, and an entire church, all the members of a church, are on the kill list. Their names are on the list. They actually want to kill those people. Now, what is the process they go through to accumulate all these names? Well, what ISIS does is they do the spray and pray strategy. It's like getting a gun and you open fire and you hope that you reach the target, okay? So what they do is they take random names from church directories. So they want to go out and kill Christians in America. So what they do is they go to church directories and then they take whatever names they can find and they put them on the list. Then they hope that Muslims already living in the United States will go out and kill these people. It's not like they're sending people from Iraq or Syria or North Africa to the United States to do this. That's very unlikely. What they do is they simply send out a message and they hope that they will inspire Muslims who are already residing in Europe or in the United States. In this case, it's the United States. My father actually wrote about this strategy in an article that was published yesterday about the priest who was beheaded in France. Now, my father mentioned the Muslim bomber who detonated a bomb in Germany recently, and his name was Mohammed Dalil. This is what my father says. He says, ISIS itself does not name their martyrs and only reveal such detail after Western media announces them. So in other words, ISIS does not even know the names of the terrorists that go out and kill the people on the kill list until the media announces them. They don't even know who these people are. ISIS does not send them out. ISIS is not saying, okay, let's call up Mohammed in Kentucky. Mohammed, I know you have a car dealership in Kentucky, and I know you make lots of money, but we need you to do something for us, for Allah and for the holy cause. No, it doesn't work that way. Usually, it doesn't work that way. It's very unlikely. What they will do is send out a message and hope that a Muslim in America is inspired enough by it that they will do it. So my father goes on to say, in fact, when you read ISIS al-Naba on the attack in Asbach in Germany, ISIS stated, quote, he, Mohammed Dalil, carried out his dilemma of not being able to join ISIS by carrying out the general call of the Caliphate state to all Muslims, that is, to target the Crusaders in the Acre stronghold of their homelands as best as they could. So they're doing two different types of strategies here. One strategy is to inspire any Muslim who is a walking, ticking time bomb, to inspire them to carry out these killings. The next strategy is to attack the enemy where they are. Don't just kill American soldiers in different countries. Now we're going to kill American civilians in their own home country to let them know we are amongst you. We are here. We're not thousands of miles away in the desert. We're not in Pakistan. We're not in Iraq. We're not in Indonesia or India. We are here. We're in Texas. We're in California. We're in Chicago. We are amongst you, in other words. So they're doing two different types of strategies. The first strategy is logistical, and the second strategy is psychological. They want to break us. They want to break the society into fear. Now, here's another thing. Another reality that this story reveals is that the U.S. government already knows what's going to happen. You always read on the internet, you read a lot of these stories that come up on the news that will say governments of Germany and, let's say, England or France warn potential tourists when they come to Europe. Or they say, be wary, there could be terrorist attacks at this time. Or we expect, you'll hear a report from Scotland Yard or from the MI5 or something like that that'll say something to the likes of be prepared to see bloody Muslim attacks in the future or whatever. What does that mean? It means that they know what's going to happen. Even the priest killer, the Muslim in France, the two Muslims in France who beheaded the priest. Well, the guy who beheaded the priest, he was being monitored by the French government. In fact, I read that that one of the Muslims who killed the priest was previously in a psychiatric ward. He was in a nut house, and the psychiatrist at the clinic determined that he's fit for society. He's stable enough to be in human society. Of course, because there's no such thing as mental illness. It's a delusion. It's bullcrap. It's propaganda done by pharmaceutical corporations so they can get drugs out of people. There's no such thing as mental illness. They are conditions of the soul. There is spiritual sicknesses. There is a spirit of darkness that enters people. There is a spiritual decay that a lot of people have that make them act in unstable ways, or they make them act imbalanced, or they make them act compulsively, or they have hallucinations and what have you and whatnot. But there's no such thing as mental illness. And so when you have someone who is evil and their soul is corrupt, they're going to exhibit behaviors that would be classified by pharmaceutical companies as mental illness. But the reality is that the guy's so damn evil, he could deceive the psychiatrist while at the same time exhibiting some sort of signs of mental illness or whatever, which is really just demon possession or demonic influence. So the guy fooled the psychiatrist, which is very easy for Muslims to do, and he went out into society and ended up beheading a priest. Well, it turned out that this guy was being monitored by the French government. Now, if he was so fit for society, as the psychiatrist believed, if these guys were so fit for society, then why were they being monitored? Why was the guy who beheaded the priest being monitored? That is the question. And the answer to the question is very revealing, and that is that the French government knew what was going to happen. They knew these people were about to kill. They knew they were about to explode. So the enemy directly is not exactly ISIS. It's not really ISIS. Everyone just focuses on ISIS, ISIS, ISIS. The enemy, the true enemy, are the Muslim ticking time bombs amongst us. And when ISIS issues out these kill lists, the potential threat of the kill lists are as big as the willingness of the Muslims in the society to carry out these attacks. So the gravity of the threat is only going to be as big as the willingness of the Muslims to carry out the threat. So what you have to worry about is not really just ISIS. What you have to worry about is Muslim ticking time bombs who are already amongst us. In other words, expect to see more hell break loose. Expect to see more bloodshed. It's going to happen. It's already happening. And if you look at what's happening in Germany, if you look at the state of France, it's almost like they're Israel before Israel built that big fat wall between the West Bank and the Israeli side. So expect to see more bloodshed. And I'm telling you, it may be scary, but here's the thing. And this is another thing that I wanted to convey to you guys in this video. People talk about France and how bad France is getting. Now, I don't know about the Germans. The Germans are crazy. Just a little bit over 70 years ago, they put millions of people in gas chambers and slaughtered them. So I don't put anything past those guys. Those guys are nuts. In fact, I don't really believe they redeemed themselves from their evil past. That's a whole other subject. Let's talk about the French. The French are a nation that has huge foundational has a huge foundational Catholic culture. It's a very, very deep-seated Catholic faith and spirituality in its nation and in its history. And that history, that culture, that foundation really resonates throughout the culture. And it resonates throughout the society. And my opinion about France is this. Yes, they are filled with nominalists. It's true that indifferentism plagues them. But when the Muslims start messing with the churches, when the Muslims start killing priests more often, because this is not the first time this is going to happen, believe me, it's going to happen a lot more. When the Muslims still continue to do this and it perpetuates and it gets more and more severe, those Frenchies are crazy. And they will go out and kill Muslims. I'm telling you right now. You're talking about people who did the French Revolution. You're talking about people who did the Crusades. Yes, the French Revolution was evil, but it was an exemplification as to the energies of the people. When the French become liberal, they become really liberal. When the French become conservative, they become really Catholic. When the Pope wanted to find people to fight the First Crusade, he didn't go to Italy. Okay, he didn't go talk to Mario and Luigi. He didn't go to Germany. He didn't go to Portugal because at that time they were dealing with their own problems with the Reconquista. But he went to the French. He went to the French, and the Council of Clermont was in France. And he told the French that through you, God will crush the enemy. Through your instrumentality, God will destroy the enemy. God will use you as his weapons to destroy the Muslim Turk bastards. And he called them Turk bastards in the council. You can read the transcripts of it. And so the same thing is going to happen in the future. God is going to use the French people to destroy Islam. People have this crazy idea that the end times is just going to be Jesus coming down. He's going to open up his mouth and two swords are going to come out. And he doesn't need man. They have this very Gnostic view of looking at things. It's very disgusting. I really can't stand it. When I write an article about the coming crusade or Christian militancy, to say, Jesus don't need man. He don't need the hand of man. He's Jesus. He don't need anybody. He's God Almighty. He's just going to open up his mouth and two swords are going to beam out. They think it's like Lord of the Rings, you know, when the wizard comes and he just sticks his staff on the ground and his light beams are everywhere and the orcs are just disseminating to pieces. That's bullcrap. It's this crazy Gnostic view that just excludes mankind's participation in the redemption of humanity. It excludes mankind's participation in the fight and war against evil. It says, oh, there's no such thing as man being involved in anything spiritual or man being involved in anything divine. It makes it as though humanity is evil. And it's sickness. When Jesus Christ was holding up the cross, God himself was holding up that cross, and he had to walk through that path of pain, of dolor, of anguish. He had to walk through that path of despair, walking to his death. A man helped him carry that cross, Simon of Cyrene. A man helped him. So mankind participates in the redemption of humanity, and mankind will participate in the war against evil. And so God will use the French nation to destroy Islam. That's what's going to happen. And I believe that God is using all of this violence that's been happening in France, and he will use the violence that's going to be happening in the future. He's going to use all of that to wake the French people up, to anger them, to spark that zeal, to get them so they can go back to God. So they can go back to God. Look at the churches in France. They're empty. But I know that's going to change one day. I know that's going to change one day. You're going to see it. Those churches are going to be filled. And a new Christian militia, a new militia de Christe, a new militia of Christ will rise again and take the French people back to the flower of Christendom, back to its old beautiful state when it was called the granddaughter of the church. And the blood of the martyrs will cry out to France, calling them back to the sword of Christ, calling them back to the sword of truth, calling them back to the sword of St. Peter. You're going to see it, I guarantee it. You're going to see France rise again to fight against the Muslim Antichrist, to fight against evil, to fight against all of this insanity. I saw the zealotry, I saw the zeal of the French people when the French government enforced homosexuality on them. And I saw the video. Over 100,000 French people took to the streets to fight against this evil. And they confronted the police. They confronted them. The police had to come with riot gear. And I saw that and I say, what a beautiful thing. We complain about the French, but we don't even have that type of resistance in the United States. When the government forced homosexuality on this nation, on the United States, we didn't even have that. We didn't have over 100,000 people take to the streets, but France did. I saw that example. I saw that heart in the French people. And I'm telling you, it's going to come back even stronger in the future. When you see the blood of priests being spilt, and it's going to be the blood of martyrs that's going to enter into the soul of the nation and become one with the heart of the people. And when the blood of the people and the blood of the martyrs become one, then we will be in the cloud of mystery. Then we will be in the cloud of many witnesses, as St. Paul says in Hebrews. And the saints in heaven and the warriors on earth will work in harmony to destroy the forces of evil and to vanquish the armies of Satan. And victory will be here, with people carrying up the crosses. And the warriors will be seen, in one hand a sword, and in their mouth will be the sword of God, the sword of the Spirit. In their mouths will be the word of God. In their mouths will come out the holy words of the Christian faith, the holy words of the holy Christian religion. To quote Psalm 145, it speaks of the saints crying out the words of God and having the sword in the other. This is going to be the reality. You will see it. I guarantee it. Enough with this garbage. Oh, there's no hope for Europe. Bullcrap. You're going to see it. Believe it. This is Theodore Shoebat. Hope you guys have enjoyed this message. Hope you guys have learned something from this message. You just heard some theology. God bless. God be with us.